So therefore, and you're spending, you spend 1/4 more to turn on a 3D movie than you do a 2D movie, and you spend 1/3 more in the processing division than you do, and then you spend more.
Then there's not as many theaters.
And there's only, if you turn out, say, you turn out 40 3D movies in a year, that's, that's three a month, and there's only enough theaters to show 2 a month. And the theaters aren't changing over because there's no financial incentive when they can show the same movie in 2D and make more money.
That's why when you see movies, for example, like Avatar, they're like, oh, Avatar was such a huge 3D movie, but most of the money from Avatar was made off of
2D.
Because, well, there's more 2D theaters.
I think like 75% of all the theaters in the world are 2D.
And then, for example, Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland, they're basically, it was a 2D that they 3D'd because it was cheaper to 3D it than to 2D it. They just made certain that everything, it works because Tim Burton was a Disney animator. Everything he does, he thinks in the terms of a cartoon. And
a lot of his characters are like that. The colors are like that.
Overly. Johnny Depp, for instance, is a great Tim Burton actor because Johnny Depp would have been well in the silent movie days because he overdoes everything. That's why Jack Sparrow works so well. That's why some of his other characters work so well. That's why Sweeney Todd, because he took a really boring character and basically he went lots of things towards the screen. I mean, I would assume that stage actors today would be like stage actors were in the early versions of sound movies when they took from the stage to bring to the motion picture industry because they could speak. A stage actor has an audience in front of him. A stage actor has to get that raw.
And they play to the audience.
They play to the audience,
right? And
they're basically you're playing. That's what Depp does, and what people to do good 3D work. It's why Brendan Fraser is known as the king of the CGI stuff because he's used to working on a big screen behind you.
Oh, yeah, he's used to working in the blue screen and playing and fighting against images that are not there.
That's why he has one of the more successful 3D movies that was made, which was Journey to the Center of the Earth, which you're getting ready to do Journey to the Center of the Earth too, because he is a person that basically, everything he does in life is bigger than life, which is why they thought he could go to Broadway, but he's a motion picture person, and motion picture people generally don't do well on Broadway, because even though he has his mannerisms, he doesn't know about performing to the audience. He performs to the camera, and the camera is not the same thing, but those are the differences, but I mean, I see 3D as a we're basically not locked heart and soul to 3D. Everything we turn out is in 3D. We shoot in nothing but 3D.
We shoot in 3D and turn it out in 3D. But we also can change it from 3D to 2D and vice versa.
Yeah, we can 2D everything that we do, which is not able to be done in a lot of cameras. The camera with the zoom cannot 3D to 2D. It's a 3D only. And a lot of the systems that are set up, or when you're shooting, a lot of people are shooting in 3D, they cannot undo the situation, where we can. I can take anything we shoot and in about an hour make a 2D version out of it. So, and I have the 2D already done. See, we're doing it ass backwards. They do the 2D and then 3D. We do the 3D and then make a 2D out of the 3D.
Well, part of it is the 3D. When you make it a 2D, actually makes a magnificent 2D picture.
It gives us a good 2D picture. Basically, it comes as when we have everything is in background, everything is perfect. It is the most beautiful, full-bodied picture that you've ever seen in your life because you're basically putting one lens on top of another and doing it that way. You can do it, basically most people can do it by just simply, have an A and B roll and you just set the thing right on top of one another. That's what we're doing in a sense, but we're doing it off of one roll. We're not doing A and B editing. We're doing, through optics and the camera work, I'm able to twist it around and give us a 2D print.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have the 3D negative, which is fun, so we're going to be turning out, we're hoping to have an arrangement in a month or so. We're going to be seeing our 3D set all over our 3D stuff all over the world. So, which was what we're working on. But the glasses are intriguing, but we can only give you the questions right now. Why are you turning out glasses that can only be shown and only be used in theaters when the people that would buy the glasses don't generally go to theaters?
Or maybe they do go to the theater.
No, they don't. You're not gonna find that yuppie going into a motion picture theater where there's a lot of people standing around them. They don't go to theaters. So the people that go to theaters tend to be the very young and the very old. Or some girl bringing along her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to see a 3D picture.
The families are, I don't know, I haven't looked at it. A lot of the movies are family movies.
They're aimed, most of the 3D movies are all aimed at family audiences because they lend themselves to that. But are you going to go, say you're a family, in the United States family is about, 2 adults and 2.5 kids. I don't know where they're half kid, but you're gonna spend, get 5 sets of glasses.
Well, we just went by, what was it, saw Tangled the other day. It was $18 for the 3D movie to watch it.
Yeah.
$18.
And half of that's in because of the 3D.
Yeah, and so $18 times a family of 4,
Yep.
you're talking at what, $72 before you get anything else.
That's right. And
That doesn't include parking, refreshments, food,
and,
anything.
with Tangled in 3D, there's 3 theaters playing the same thing that don't in 2D. While the 3D one is full, I'd rather fill the 3 2Ds than the 1 3D.
So that's kind of the challenge as far as a studio house.
Yeah.
Because the other way, you could have a lot more people that go see your movie.
Yeah, because it's I understand. It's
So that's why they do
This
both.
is not the theaters that are paying for these things.
No.
These come out. These are basically supplied by the
From the
distributor to the theaters. So the theater owner is not making any more money showing a 3D film than he is a 2D film. They prefer to have the 2D print because of the fact that the 3D is more cumbersome to show than the 2D.
But for example, like if you're in an IMAX, right?
Yeah.
The movies for that are very specialized. People go to see an IMAX movie in IMAX.
Yeah, well, the guys that would pay for the glasses would go to the IMAX.
Yeah.
That's where they go. But I think there's only like 175 IMAX theaters in the whole world. I mean, like we'll be honest, Disney's Tron is basically made for IMAX. Disney's Tron has got the same problem. I mean, I played in the original Tron basically in the art department, but it was an artist rendition of what they thought should be done, and they've done it again.
And there's a special edition of some 3D glasses for Tron.
Yeah. So, but that's only good for the theater. Once you get to they're not going to be able to watch it on your Blu-ray with them, I wouldn't bet.
I don't think so.
Blu-ray is definitely active shutter. So, but they are.
Here's the funny part. If you watch a Blu-ray movie on a high-def TV, which you practically have to, if you watch it and everything's paired, it almost looks 3D anyway.
Yeah, a good Blu-ray. You can see. I mean,
And that's without glasses.
Go look at Avatar done on a Sony Blu-ray, and compare Avatar done in 3D on let's say like an LG. You can see the depth. You can actually see the 3D functions. I mean, we actually put our glasses on.
We put on Avatar on the regular TV, and we put on 3D glasses.
Yeah.
These real D ones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, real D, and you could basically make it out because what they did do is they really did a crappy 2D print because they did a 2D off of the 3D, and they left a lot of the 3D functions in. This is a polarized lens. Which meant if you're watching a polarized 2D version of a 3D thing, you get to see depth. And we're sitting there, and you sit, so we're interested in watching. You're sitting there like this and like this and like this, because like I said, Tron is like I said, we're going to have a problem with the glasses because we went some preview of Tron last week, and I'm sitting there doing like this. God, it looked god awful horrible in 2D. I mean, it really looks bad in 2D.
And that was the Tron preview that we saw.
Yeah, and if it looks that bad at the preview, they gotta know it's gonna be that bad in the theaters. How are you gonna do a movie that's basically designed totally for 3D with a 2D print? It's all effects, everything is effects, are just effects. It's a cruddy cartoon did again. It's the artist department, it's the computer art. Okay. Then it was by hand. Now today it's by all computer.
Well, and part of it is that the computer animation, it's really easy to do 3D. For example, like that's why a lot of the movies, like what is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Yeah.
Right? Tangled, that's animation.
And Yogi Bear is coming out. Basically, that's all animation. And just like
Toy Story 3D.
Toy Story with
That was it.
animation. It's very simple to make a 3D thing out of a cartoon or out of a computer game. It's more difficult to take a feature film because, I mean, if anybody pays any attention, we tend to do a lot of stuff. It's, you know, if they watch when Ocam does his stuff, he's got his hands are always moving. You know, some of it is the fact that this hand is somewhat paralyzed from a stroke, but I sit there and put things in this hand, and you're never paying attention to the fact that the fingers are stuck together, are you?
Probably not. I mean,
No, but we do. She moves around continually. I move around with my figures. But this is the thing about 3D. These glasses are basically useless if a person sits there like this.
well, you know, that's one of the things when we do interviews is when I'm talking to the people, I said, now we're doing an interview for 3D, so feel free to move.
Yeah.
And most of them, you know, they kind of forget about it because they're
They're
used
used
to
to
like,
their hands behind their back doing regular interviews. Because 3D is going to bring about, we're trying to force a change with what we do. We're doing it on a dribble basis, but where everything is done in 3D. You actually can do good interviews in 3D, and they do go up.
we've had a lot of fun because a lot of the actors, they play up for it.
Yeah.
It's like, do something for your fans in 3D,
Well,
right?
they would prefer to do something, okay, you ask somebody, we basically said a couple of years ago, asked Jeff Goldblum, have you ever have a question ready, have you ever got an answer ready for a question that's never been asked? And he said, I have to think about that. Well, 2 years later, I asked him the same, I still haven't got the answer to that. And basically,
but they remember.
But they remembered it because it's something, but they would rather do an interview because Goldblum, for instance, he's really a friendly guy. I mean,
He is.
He doesn't like to stand still, but when he'll do his interviews like this, but we got him.
But what they do, they literally hold their hands behind their back.
Yeah.
Together a lot of times so that
Yeah,
they won't
just like I am with mine because they don't want to be expressive. But when he was allowed to be expressive, he was having a good time.
Yeah.
So the same thing. I mean,
That's why they call a lot of people in broadcast, they call them talking heads.
talking heads because they're basically not
Stand still.
allowed. But they would prefer, they're performers, they would prefer to speak with their hands. And if they're speaking with their hands, it really translates well into 3D. But these are all things, everything has to be in unison. And I mean, this is not in unison with the big Sony TV set we have over in this room. And these are not in unison with the Panasonic camera that sits back there. I mean, they don't even supply you with you spend a god awful amount of money for a big commercial Panasonic, and you don't get glasses with it.
Yeah.
You also need to get the software to go with it.
Oh.
So nothing is united. They have to get together and decide on some sort of form. If you're going to have active shutter, you need active shutter that will play on air. So that basically you can take the sunglasses, we're taking the designer 3D glasses, you can stick it in your, in your shirt, put it on top of your hat and go over to Joe Blow's house and put your glasses on and watch the Super Bowl in 3D on his glasses, on his set. Or that he can go over to his mother-in-law who has another company set. He takes the glasses out, puts them on, he can see it. Or you go pick up, you go pick up, like a Lord of the Rings movie, or you go pick up a movie about Herod the Great. You can go, and each one of them is done in the very same form. They stabilized it for Blu-ray. They haven't stabilized it for anything else in the country. Basically, there's so many, like 14 different forms to start with. There's more than that of what you can process a video in. So these glasses, they don't have any, basically they're not dipped in reality is what they are dipped in. So
They're looking at it through rose-colored glasses.
I know, sit there and watch the director again telling me our time was getting to be close to be up. No, but this is a good idea. We're going to talk to the people at CES about this, and we're going to be we're going to be talking to them in 3D about 3D glasses. So, I talk a lot because I've actually been involved in this thing for 60 years, just about. I'll be 60 years in a 3D section. So I do know, I mean, I've been in front of the camera, now I'm standing behind the back of the camera. I didn't realize they were that hard, that it was that complicated for the people behind. I do remember being pissed off about him, because you got to do this, you got to do that. No, I mean, it's ridiculous. The actors don't like it because the actors, okay, to make 3D work, you have to either be they got to be doing this, or they got to be doing that, or they got to be doing this. It's not meant to be static, and a lot of people in the acting business today are basically lumps. I mean, I worked with a lot of lumps. I mean, they ended up major stars, but they didn't. I mean, you talk about, like the guy with.
They're not action actors.
They're not action actors. They were basically, they'd sit there and, and they'd emote. They would basically, here's where everything was. From here down, they were totally dead. But from here up, they were god-awful great looking, or they had the most magnificent speaking voice, or their basically face conveyed everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they could not handle 3D. They also didn't do interviews on any. These same actors would never do it. They wouldn't do a Tonight Show. They never go on. They never do a personal interview because they wouldn't know what to do with anything. So, and this is 3D. The glasses are a good idea, but there's no uniformity. The TVs are a good idea. There's no uniformity. The cameras are good, but there's no uniformity. And until you have uniformity, we're screwed. So until next time, this is Old Camp.
And this is not a spring chicken. We're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And for more information,
You can go to our www.montebubba.net on the net. It basically is functioning. It's just you have to have you got to have Java Flash enabled in order to see a lot of the things on our website now. So
yeah. And follow us daily in our 3D newscast. You're going to continue to see changes on a daily basis. And thank you once again for over 40 million links on the internet.